Hello, adventure bike riders. I've kind of new to the adventure bike scene. I've been riding motorcycles all my life, and I'm going on 65 years old, so I think I won my first bicycle rodeo in 1965. I was 11 years old. Raced a Twin Port CZ in 1970. I think I was 16. And was partners in a Honda shop and racing most of my life. Super bikes to enduros. And the adventure bike scene. So I would like to talk about that. Let's talk about tires first. I've seen a lot of the different tires and the ratios 60, 40, 30, 20, 90, 10. And kind of wondering about all that. Kind of wondering about the adventure bike scene. A lot of it I don't understand. My whole life was who would want to ride a heavy bike off-road? It seems ridiculous to me. So when I was going to start riding adventure bikes and do a little off-road, which I mean dirt road, two up, I picked for a starter bike the Suzuki V-Strom 650. And I think I made a good choice. I go up north in New Hampshire and ride the logging roads, two up, and I see that the bike, we can have a lot of fun riding dirt roads, but off-road trails, I don't know, man. I think it's not a good idea. You can easily get tangled up in mud and get into deep shit, and you're always going to be struggling somewhat and anxious about what's up ahead, if it's getting too gnarly or what. And just the big heavy bikes, I don't get it. So I met up with a bunch of guys up there in Pittsburgh riding their adventure bikes. And they're all standing up, going down the dirt roads, and they could be sitting and relaxing, saving their energy. And I kind of blew by them with my wife on the back, going 10 miles an hour faster. And the roads are crowned, so you got to be careful because you get off camber if you go wide on the corner. You got to really watch out for logging trucks. As you can see, this road is wet, a little slippery, but you got to watch out for the crowned corners as they will catch you off guard. The roads in Sandwich, New Hampshire are much more gnarly. There's Sandwich Notch Road, and there's the Triple E, which are challenging, a little more gnarly, but nice. You can have a lot of fun riding on those. So I used my grooving tool to cut the tires so I'd have a little bit better bite turning into the corners. Sort of like what you used to do with a flat track tires or mile racing tires. That's probably a good choice of tire tread, is that style. They've only been at it for 100 years. Anyway, as you can see, these roads here are nice. With a group of guys with a little bit of fun speed, you can have a real good time. Just when you can't see ahead very far, you've got to be cautious. But there's many miles of these roads, and the GPS isn't always correct. But I saw these guys on these big BMWs and KTMs and Triumphs. Man, there's quite a group. They weren't going fast. I'm not so sure how much fun they were having. And I just didn't quite get it. So I kind of rode off. Hour later, we stopped, take a break, and have a drink of water, and they finally caught back up to us. Said hi, and off they went. And we were kind of getting ready to go too, taking different logging roads, and we took off and we met up with them again. And I passed them again. And they were soon left behind. And I was wondering, well, I don't see, even on the long climbs up the mountains, I don't see any of them using any horsepower. My 650 has plenty of power. I mean, how much power can you use on dirt roads with these big bikes? 40, 50 horsepower, a third of the horsepower they produce. So I'm kind of really wondering, all right, I'm sure on the road they're plenty powerful. And yes, later on we did meet on the asphalt. And once again, they would fire off high power for about a couple hundred yards. But then they slow down. Around the corners, you pass them and leave them in the dust. Yeah, okay, I can say I've been racing most of my life, but I wasn't really going fast with my wife on the back. Yeah, I raced 750 Hondas in the late 70s and 400cc, what was it, Formula B or something. But I just saw that they seemed to be ungainly. And then later on, we ran into them again on a dirt road. And one of them had a front flat tire. I think it was the BMW. And it's like, oh my gosh. No, it was the KTM. Had a 21-inch front wheel that belongs on a dirt bike. A light dirt bike. A 250-pound dirt bike. Had a flat tire. I'm going, what the hell are these big, heavy bikes that weigh 500 pounds with a lower profile 21-inch front wheel? It's ridiculous. I don't understand it at all. You want a tire sort of like a bobber bike, a big fat front tire, so you can hit rocks. They're forgiving, and you won't get flats. Well, I went home. I'm looking at the front tire of my V-Strom, knowing, okay, I'm running a harder pressure so I don't get flats. I do a lot of dirt bike riding, and I'll be damned if I want flat tires. So I ran the tubeless system for about 5 years. I ran the tube guard. 3 different ways I've tried to protect my tires from flats. And I've done a pretty good job, but mainly I run a little harder tire pressure. So when I slam the rocks or hit the rock I didn't see, because my eyes are getting a little old, that I don't get a flat tire. And anyway, I saw these bikes with these tires. It was just ridiculous. And watching YouTube videos, so many flat tires. So what I did was I went home and I bought this fender that's taller, because the stock fender on this V-Strom, I was getting rocks up underneath here, and you hear them ching, 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 ching with the stock tire, and I said, don't like the sound. So I took off the regular fender like this that's too close to the front tire, and I put this one on. So now at least I can update my tire size. Yeah, it's a little too wider for the rim, but I'm going to update to a TKC 70 tire that has the dual compounds. I really believe in the tires with dual compounds, even triple compounds. That is definitely the way to go. So I'm going to update, when this tire is worn out more, I'm going to update to this TKC 70 front and rear. And if I need a more aggressive tread pattern, because I'm going to be riding asphalt roads and dirt roads. I'm not going to go down enduro trails. If I want to go down enduro trails, I'm sorry, but I'll take my KTM 350 that I've taken a couple championships riding enduros, and took a first place 3 years ago in hare scrambles out in the desert of Arizona. I'll take this bike. And it's nice and light, very powerful, handles sweet, and hauls ass. And that bike is made for really off-road. This bike, dirt roads. So if you want a little more of an aggressive tire pattern on your front tire, here's the answer. Right here. You can do it yourself. See? Right here. You groove your tires. Look how easy it is. You got all kinds of settings. Right here. Just a little thought. Right here. You can use your imagination. I'm cutting these here for a little better turn in on the, when I'm going in the corners. It'll grip a little more. Right here. So as I turn in, the tire will have a little more grip, but I won't go to the outside of those crowned dirt roads, which I did. Which you're going, whoa, and making the corners. Your wife doesn't know what's going on, but you know. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing here. So these big, powerful adventure bikes, I'm sorry to say, they're ridiculous. Why would you want to have this big, heavy machine going off-road on dirt roads? I mean, wow, maybe touring and some nice dirt roads, it's probably perfectly fine. But when it gets rough, I want to take this bike out to Arizona and New Mexico, Nevada, and ride. But I sure don't want a big, heavy machine, especially two-up riding and loaded down for camping. I have the panniers and all that. So she's all set up. I did change the rear suspension to a much heavier spring for two-up riding and all the baggage on the back for camping. The front forks I haven't done much with, but the springs are adjustable, so I've turned them up. But the suspension travel isn't that long of some of the big heavy KTMs, BMWs. So I'm going to go to the larger tire, and even that, it should be okay. But I was thinking, this is 19-inch. So how about a 19-inch motocross tire? God, I just thought of that. I could actually get a 19-inch motocross tire, much larger, and fit it on here, and I'll be much better off on the dirt roads. If it gets really dirt roads, soft sand, muddy. Then the other aspect is with KTMs and BMWs, why not have a 19-inch front wheel with a bobber style tire that you end up with the outside diameter of a 21-inch front wheel? Why not? I think the manufacturers have got it all wrong. I really believe they've got it all wrong. And when the new bikes come out, I look and they still have these spindly little 21-inch front tires that'll dent your rim, get a flat when you hit a rock going too fast. Unless you want to go at a leisurely pace, which I don't. I like to go at a spirited riding speed that I'm having fun. And you know, a lot of riders know when you go at a certain speed, it's just everything's loose and doesn't flow well. You pick up your pace to a certain speed and everything starts to flow. And you can go around corners and climb hills. Everything comes into harmony. And those are the speeds I like to go. I'll be damned. I'm like on some of the turkey runs, I get behind a slower rider and say, damn, if he just picked up the speed 5 miles an hour, he'd be so much better off. But he's afraid. He doesn't know. And I've actually spoken to a rider about that, picking up his pace a little bit and making things much better for him. He tried it, and he came to me at the end of the day, said, yeah, feels a lot better. But the other aspect about adventure bikes, mid-size adventure bikes, why isn't there any with a drive shaft? My God. When I had my Honda shop, I sold an awful lot of CX500s and GL650s. The CX500 was a nice bike. I had received one of the earliest CX500s that had the cam chain tensioner falling apart. And I was the mechanic that I took the engine apart to find out what was causing it before we even set it up and ran it. Found the bolt loose that holds the cam chain tensioner, and it was from prototype to manufacturing. There's a little sheen of rubber over the bushing. So when the machine torqued the bolt, it torqued it against rubber, and it came right loose. when I took the cover off, the bolt was already loose. It hadn't even been run yet. It was never tightened because of the rubber, which was kind of cool. But I sold a lot of CX 500s and GL 650s, and I sure wish they would produce a mid-size drive shaft adventure bike, long travel suspension, keep it light. God, if they only kept it light, because we're gonna make it heavy anyway, two up with all our baggage. That's why I've been watching Moto Guzzi with their V85 TT. Drive shaft, V-twin, air-cooled, my gosh. I think I'm going to buy one when they come out. I hope I can find a dealer that has one. But so far, I don't know the numbers, but it looks lighter. It looks a lot lighter than the other big bikes. And if it is, I'm putting my cash down and buying one. So, anyway, to all you guys with trying all the different tires, I'm kind of a tire guy. So anyway, here's my tire selection. I like trying different tires. So I'm going to go through all the adventure bike tires coming up. But here's the tube guard here. Tube guard, haven't really tried it. Just got it, I'm going to. But here's the tube saddles. I recommend them, especially with these adventure bikes. Here's one that got a little used up in the front tire of my dirt bike. I don't know what the hell happened to it, but it's like half as thick now and all beat up. But it was put through hell. And these tube saddles are pretty good. But here's my tire selections. I've tried all the different kinds. The gummies, the Ibex, they totally shredded, fell apart. The Kenda Ibex, it was a total disaster up in upstate Maine on the rocks. But let me see, Pirellis work good. Bridgestone M59 fronts work good on dirt bikes. And I'm going to go through the same thing with all these adventure bike tires. Try different tires. And if you want to try something pretty cool, because this has already made a big difference for me on the back tire and the front tire here, grooving them. My back tire, I grooved it. Man, what a difference climbing hills along these mountains with a pretty nice dirt roads. But the tire before it was grooved, I had a little bit of difficulty with tire slip going up these rocky mountains. After grooving it, I could get right up them. You could tell it was a direct correlation, grooving the tire to traction. Okay, well, that's it for now. I'd like to talk more about adventure bikes. And if you think, why am I choosing the TKC 70 by Continental? Well, Freedom Bike Rentals in Ecuador. I've ridden there 2 times. And out of all their bikes, I've chosen the Suzuki V-Strom. And the first bike I rode, it was a self-guided tour, which I highly recommend. What a blast. So the V-Strom I had TKC 70 tires, the dual compound. And that tire, that set of tires on the rainy roads that we rode on with dirt, you know, you're in a third world country, I guess you could say. I hate to use that term, but it gave me such traction with my wife on the back on these rainy roads that were dirty and on the dirt roads that were still wet and all. I couldn't believe it, how nice the tires were, how they've come such a long ways from since I was racing motorcycles, that I just said, I'm going to get a set of these. And I figured I can easily modify them to make them better if the need comes. Back in the 70s when we were racing 750 Hondas and all, it was tires were a big problem because they wouldn't last. And that's when Dunlop and Michelin was getting into the market. Dunlop was getting into it. I was there when they came out with their Elite. And I said, they were putting the tires on, giving them away free. And I said, let me have the tires. I'll put them on myself. Well, I put them in my van. I didn't dare put them on. And everybody went out at Loudon. It was rainy out, misting, raining, and most of the riders fell down. The tires are oily, and they didn't have any rain grooves, and it was quite a show. Anyway, it was an easy race to win, that's for sure. Okay, for now, I'll get back and we'll do another adventure bike talk. There's my shock I put on. It's out of England. Let me see. What's the name of this shock? Nitron. I got the large spring for 2-up riding. And once again, I will be talking to you.